Good morning, Savannah, and welcome to the Savannah Business Showcase. I'm your host, Therese, and I'm here with a very special guest, Knight from the Astrals. And before we get started, I usually
Hello.
start. I usually start with the scenario. Um, Here's the scenario: you're walking through your neighborhood. A little kid comes up to you and says, "Knight, you're my hero. How can I be like you when I grow up?" So, in a language that a 10 or 12-year-old can understand, what does it take to be Knight of the Astrals?
Don't be a bystander.
Mm.
Just don't be a bystander. If you know that something's going on, or if a friend had something happen, or anything of that sort, you have the ability to actually reach out to the right people and let them know what's going on.
Mm.
And it's kind of hard to realize that not enough people do that. So in
Mm.
order to be an astral, in order to be like me, just do not be a bystander. Just go ahead and do something about it. But don't be a vigilante. That is a no-no.
Mm.
Don't go around and beat up people because you don't have the ability to be judge, jury, and executioner.
Mm.
But you do have the ability to actually set in motion things going on the right path and on the right course. So if you want to be like me, if you want to be like an astral, just don't be a bystander.
Mm. I like that. I like that. And that's great advice for everybody. Because honestly, like a lot of people are bystanders and
Mm-hmm.
in their own life, in a lot of ways.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Just not taking action and being afraid to change anything or try to change something. So that's great
Exactly.
advice. I like that. I like that a
Thank
lot.
you.
So I guess introduce yourself as Knight and what the Astros are and what you guys are all about.
Oh man. Well, legally, as I've been saying to like a lot of the more authority figures, the Astrals is a anonymous community service group based in Savannah, Georgia, where for the most part we've been trying to help the community in any way that we can.
Mm.
For the most part, in our first year, which we just reached our 1 year anniversary, I believe, back in December, it's actually been a
Congratulations.
lot. Thank you. It's actually been a lot more of sexual assault and rape situations
Mm.
and victims and things of that sort. And so getting their stories out there to the police, making them feel comfortable, giving testimonies, and even with very touchy situations in general.
Mm.
But we've also been recently helping out with different homeless shelters by giving them supplies. Even when Florence was said to hit, like we went out and gave enough supplies that we could to different shelters in the
Mm.
city. And then on February 9th, we're actually holding our first fundraiser, which has been something that we've really wanted to do for a while because we have no money. We have nothing to raise funds for different areas. But I mean, there have been situations where people reach out to us to see if we could. I
Mm.
mean, we have tried like GoFundMe's before, and those unfortunately didn't really do as well as I would like. But doing different things to hopefully raise constant funds for places is something that we really want to do.
Mm.
And so our big fundraiser event in collaboration with Stagefront and an organization called Reach Out and Read is happening on February 9th at the Bay Street Theater. And we hope to take that as an opportunity, not just to bring awareness to Reach Out and Read and sort of reveal a prize for whoever donates the most, but actually also to more publicly announce ourselves to the community.
Mm.
And to let them know who we are and, invite authority figures and build more relationships between people and different groups to hopefully get more cases and more situations and things of that sort. But yeah, that's a very abridged version
Yeah.
of the team and of who I am.
Yeah. I think that's really awesome. And so tell me about the anonymity part. So like you guys are like, do you actually have costumes? Because I see on
Yeah.
the
Oh no.
I see on the
Oh,
Facebook
we do.
page. Okay.
Oh, we
Okay.
do. We do. Well, the anonymity obviously was incredibly important. I
Mm.
feel like for a number of reasons. I think truthfully because I think with the amount of subjects that we get to touch on and the
Mm.
sensitivity of those topics. For our safety and for the people that we care about safety, it is incredibly important, I believe, to just keep ourselves anonymous in any regard. But oddly enough, there has been this weird thing that I've learned this past year where I've sort of been proven wrong time and time again, given how people's responses have been to how we keep ourselves anonymous.
Mm.
And of course, you know, we use the imagery of superheroes, as I'm sure you might have seen on our Facebook page and things.
Right.
And for me, it's almost been like a weird social experiment
Hmm.
looking back at it, because so many people, you know, they know mainly it's been through emails. So of course we have the nicknames and things of that sort. But then when we meet a victim or we meet someone who has information that we need to know or the police need to know, we do have costumes because we have to conceal ourselves.
Mm.
But it's almost like, well, we kind of have to live up to the nicknames now, given we have like a knight and a reflex and an apex and a strix. Okay. But no one's been phased by it. Like
Right.
no one seemed weird at all by it. And
Really?
yeah, that's been the weirder part, because
Hmm.
again, like we've questioned people and had like basically interrogated people before.
Mm.
And we're in full costumes in like an alleyway or a parking garage, and they don't care.
Wow.
It's this weird thing where it's like, as long as the information's going to the right people, I don't think people care who they talk to.
Yeah.
I don't think people. I almost think as well, um, and I've talked to certain people actually at the police department about this as well, because we have a great relationship with the local PD. But we truthfully, both me and our contact there, both truthfully believe that honestly the imagery might be a reason why people even trust us more,
Mm.
because of just like, oh, if you see a guy in a cape and a mask, it's like, oh, I know what he's trying to be. Okay.
Right.
You know, there's nothing hostile about it. There's no taintness of that image.
Right.
But also, I think at the same time too, you know, ironically enough, with the huge surge of how popular that stuff is getting, I think too that might be helping it out as well, in terms of like, oh, that's kind of neat. Okay,
Mhm.
I'll bite. And I'm shocked at the amount of people who have reached out to us and wanted to be recruits, wanted to join the team in
Oh
any
yeah.
form. And so, yeah, I mean, we all got costumes. I got an upgrade near the middle of our year. Some of the other guys are finalizing some stuff as well. But by February 9th, we're going to be probably at the best look visually that we've been all year.
That is awesome. That is no, this is really awesome, man. Like I'm excited. Like I'm just crazy excited about this, man. Like I was,
I'm shocked at how excited people are.
yeah,
Because
yeah.
because I mean, I personally been doing this stuff for about 15 years,
Mm,
way before the team. So
mm,
like in a lot of ways, like I was the guy who sort of looked for them and found them and things like that.
okay.
And I was keeping it very much on the down low.
Yeah.
Um, and so having the name kind of come out, having the image come out, it's weird. It's incredibly weird.
Mm,
But it's almost kind of like this weird feeling of acceptance where it's like,
yeah.
okay, cool. Like people are very excited about it, or they're chill with it, or they're trusting, even though they know that I dress up and interrogate people.
that's so it's really cool for me because like at the end of every show, and I'll ask you this too.
Okay.
So maybe I'll just ask it now because you know why not?
Why not?
But I ask this to every entrepreneur and small business owner, no matter how successful they are, no matter how small they are, young or old. You know, and it's been over 100 interviews over this past year and a half that I've done this, and
Wow.
it's if you had a superpower or ability, what would you choose and why?
Oh my God.
And that's my closing question because I love the idea that everybody has a superpower. You know,
Um, oh man. Um,
you should have this ready, man. Come on.
I know. I mean, for me, it's probably going to be regeneration or
Mm,
strength.
mm,
I think then, because one, I wouldn't feel as hesitant to maybe get into a risky situation if like, oh, someone's in a crashed car, blah blah blah. Oops, I'm going to get cut on glass,
yeah,
or something
yeah,
like that.
yeah,
Um, you know, but I mean, everyone like chooses flight or something like that. But for me, it's like, well, if you knew that you wouldn't get hurt, or if you did get hurt, you'd be totally fine.
yeah.
Would that make you less likely to be a bystander?
Mm,
You know,
mm,
so that's always kind of been my go-to.
mm. So this began in so it was founded in Savannah,
Hmm.
the Astrals.
Yeah.
Okay, by you.
Yes, me. It was me. It's weird because I started escalating my charade a little bit individually, and then ironically enough, I found out that someone I knew was Reflex, and he wanted to do this stuff. And
Mm.
so then him and I were like, okay, we got to look for people, and then we found the other two.
Mm.
Um, so that was kind of weird when someone is just like, hey, follow me, takes out a shoebox and pulls out a costume, and I'm like, oh, okay,
Mm.
cool. Let's do this thing.
Yeah, man. So I'm happy you guys are here. I'm happy you started this because this is awesome. And I'm like thinking of dozens of people like I want to introduce you to. But I think the most important thing is for people to come to the event on February 9th, right?
Right.
And
Yeah. I mean, February 9th, that's going to be a big deal for us, but also for me, there's definitely the possibility with certain people that we were trying to invite. Of course, there's the chance that they may not be able to go. And so for me, it's like, regardless, I want to build those connections anyway, because, we definitely have plans of what we'd want to do, or things that we're like, we kind of need something, or we need this, or we need that, or, hey, we'd love to do this. And I don't think we'd be able to do that without connections in the city. So, I mean, any sort of connections that we make at the event or before the event or even after the event, I'm all ears for, honestly. But February 9th is going to be good. We were collaborating with Stagefront, which I'm not sure if you know about them or
just a little bit. Just a little bit.
Yeah, the production lighting group, basically.
Okay.
We collaborated with them to help us out with getting a venue, and then also the item for whoever donates the most. Which, if you're a fan of comics, I think people are going to be very excited about us bringing something to life that is very iconic for a man who's afraid of bats.
Okay. Hi, awesome. All right, cool. So, like, what can people expect when they come? What like?
So a couple of things that we have right now, and actually one thing that we're sort of starting a little bit late, but it's actually kind of exciting, is it's at the Bay Street Theater. So, you're going to be sitting in an auditorium, basically, and we're going to come out and have a short PowerPoint presentation about more details about the team, a little bit, like a little refresher. And then just sort of, we're hoping to have a guest speaker from Reach Out and Read, who is part of the organization that we're, making the money for. And he's going to discuss the organization and what they do. And then we are going to sort of talk a little bit about the future, like certain hopes and ideas that we have. And then if there's any reporters or people of authority that have questions, we'll be on the floor to talk to people for a bit. And then the one thing that I'm kind of intrigued and excited about is a lot of the people from Stagefront and Reach Out and Read. We're, of course, talking about how people might want to know how this team started. And so, I'm happy to talk about that here, but also we collaborated with Planet Fun, which is a comic book store in Savannah on Broughton Street. And they're going to be holding a Genesis comic book that we're hoping to collaborate more in detail with from people at the Savannah College of Art and Design. And so there will be a few copies of that at the event if people just want to walk up to it and then sort of read in a very abridged, anonymous version of how the team started. And then we're hoping to continue that actually as a series so that there can be constant funds that we can build for different shelters and different places in the city. So we'll make no money off of that. I don't even think Planet Funds can make any money off of that. They're just going to hold the comics, and then whatever money those comics make, those are going to go to different organizations and shelters in the city. So like I said earlier, how we wanted to constantly raise funds for things, now we'll have the opportunity to do that on like a monthly or a couple week basis. So I'm very excited about that because one, it kind of gets the name out there.
Yeah.
Two, even if the alter egos are not really who we are, we get to tell an inspired version of our real story. The real things that have happened to us over the years, over the years especially. And then also actual moments that have happened while we're in the suits and actual conflicts that we've had. And I'm really excited about that.
Yeah. Yeah. Dog, this is really cool. So like, what is the, what was the inspiration to getting started? You said you had done it for about a decade before, right? So
it's weird because I've sort of dabbled with it a little bit over the years with the idea of like, helping people out in a certain way. And and then eventually it got to the point where we're in Savannah. I just sort of had this, moment of like reflection and things like that, and sort of having to come to the idea of, all right, like if I'm going to go all out with this, if I'm not going to dabble with it like I had been for the past, I think 14 years, 13 years that time, if I'm going to fully embrace this, I need to figure out, one, is this actually part of who I am and what I want to do, or is this me just wanting to live out a fantasy?
Mm.
So I was sort of delving into that a little bit, and then ironically, certain situations came up, and the way that I solved those situations is very, I think, heavily what influenced the method that we do with a lot of the situations that we help out with now, with the email process, with contacting someone directly at a police department or anything like that. Giving the victim or whoever talks to us updates about what's going on, instead of just being Crime Stoppers Anonymous, where you give a tip and you hear nothing back.
Right.
Meeting with people, that sort of thing. So weirdly enough, at that time when I did it that way, I just remember feeling like, yeah, this is what I'm going to be doing. This is how I'm going to do it. So it was almost like, it felt kind of like bringing those past 14 years into like the forefront. And then literally 2 weeks after I decided that, that's when I met Reflex, and that's when we got the team together. And I was like, okay, all right,
this is it.
this is it. And
It's
then,
weird. It's weird how stuff works out like that, right?
yeah, and then about a
Yeah, go
and then
ahead.
I think about a month later, that's when I got in contact with our connection at the PD.
Mm.
And after one email, he was like, yeah, let's build this dynamic. And I was like, all right. And I was like, okay, this is happening.
Yeah. I mean, it's perfect because, I mean, people talk about how bad the crime is in Savannah,
Right.
but like, who's really doing anything
Right.
about it?
Right.
And how can we give back without being vigilantes? Like, do you see people trying to be vigilantes?
I haven't seen anyone trying to be vigilantes. And to be honest, I feel like we're kind of the closest thing right now to that, without legally becoming vigilantes. But I have heard, of course, a lot of those complaints about, is the police doing anything, this and that, all this sort of controversy. But I think, I can't speak for everyone's personal experiences, but for me, like I really like those guys over there, and they trust us, and I trust them. And I hope that this connection that we have between us and them can sort of, I guess, calm people's nerves if they are nervous about them at any way.
Right.
Just because it's like, hey, if they're okay with us, then they're good guys. That you don't have to worry about this. And there have been theories about us just being part of the police department. And I'm like, that's kind of conspiracy theory level, but all right, I'll let it slide. But
so what are your goals for the Astrals? Like maybe not 5 years, but let's say 3 years from now. What do you think you can accomplish, or what do you want to accomplish?
Man, 3 years from now, I think the biggest thing for me, which we've sort of started a little bit, but not nearly as much as I would want to right now, is expansion. I don't see the Astrals just being a Savannah, Georgia thing. I think that the type of dynamic that we've had with the local law enforcement, and with the community, that could be a thing that could happen domestically or even internationally. And I've reached out to different community groups that are international, that are in different states, and some people have been interested, but it just hasn't grown to that level that we're at currently here in Savannah yet. But I would love to see that, to it be an official thing that people can either sign up for, or just in many ways a different avenue to help out your community. I think the biggest thing is we need a headquarters. Like we need a place in Savannah just to like constantly have people go to talk to us for testimonies, because as kind of comic book like as it is to meet with someone in an alleyway or the rooftop of a parking garage, it's not, I cannot tell you how risky it is for us to then go, all right, we got to then run to this car, undress or cover up and drive away and make sure we're not being followed. And this,
oh man, yeah.
If we just had one location that we could call our own and just be like, all right, if you want to meet us, here's where you go. Like, that would be perfect. And that's definitely something that I feel like with the connections and things like that in the city could be a possibility.
Mm.
And then I think for me, the last thing would just be, we've dabbled in the idea of maybe an application for people to reach out to us better, other than just using our email address.
Right.
So we have a lot of ideas for what that could look like. But then also mainly kind of recruits. I would love to see more people, because I've moved around a lot due to my work, and so I know that at some point I am going to have to leave Savannah at one point or another.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't want to leave Savannah without Astrals being there.
Gotcha.
So
Gotcha.
yeah, that's my hope and aspirations.
Awesome. Well, hopefully people who listen to this interview will reach out to you. Like, what's the best way to get in contact with you?
The best way to get in contact with us is definitely via our Facebook page, the Astrals of Savannah, Georgia, and even our email address, which is literally just altogether the Astrals of Savannah at gmail.com. That's where you can reach out to us about any situations that you need help with, or just questions, or wanting to maybe even join or help out any way that you can. I mean, the last thing that I remember us working on before this fundraiser was someone reported a theft because they felt like that it was a small enough theft that they didn't want to bother the police with. And so they found us off of a subreddit of Savannah. So like, people get in contact with us in a lot of weird ways, but that's definitely the best way to approach us, I feel like, is Facebook and our email.
Right. And that's the same way I found you, is through R Savannah, I believe. Reddit, the subreddit Savannah.
Yeah.
So are you a big fan of comic books then?
I've always been a fan in one way or another, and that's why for me, again, when I go back to that deciding factor, if this is me living out a fantasy or not, it was legitimately like, yeah, you like this stuff, but is this really practical? And so in a weird way, I've told the team this. I'm like, don't call me a superhero. And they're like, why? I'm like, because then it makes it sound like I wanted to try to be one, which is not at all how this happened. It just sort of happened this way. But I did not strive to go, I want to be like Batman. I want a Jim Gordon. I want a bat signal. No. It was just like, I have to be anonymous. And what better way to keep your anonymity and hopefully getting the trust of people than using imagery that everyone knows about, that everyone loves. And it's been living up to it. That's been the difficult part. But yeah, no, I do like comics, but
I would imagine you do have to, like, have you seen your life change at all? Like your personal life, like you just mentioned, having to live up to it. Like, what does putting on the suit half the time make you a better person the other half of the time?
Oh, most definitely. Like I've always been telling certain people, like, I think night is the best part of me. I've never, felt bad about myself or anything like that. But I get so much more motivation and so much more excitement, I think, when I get to put on the suit and do these types of things that I don't mean to like bash anyone, but to be honest, anyone could do what I'm doing. It's only been phone calls, emails, meeting people, and the only weird part about it is no one knows your name. No one knows what you look like. That's it, but it definitely has changed my life, I think, for the better, because I feel like I felt more whole in a weird way. Where it's like, yeah, I can see myself doing this possibly for the rest of my life, along with my actual job and my actual passions as the alter ego. But I think the thing that I am most interested about is going to be the reaction after this and February 9th, because I definitely feel like this is all going to start a chain of events of possibly people knowing about us. And then it's going to be like, okay, is that going to change anything about how I treat this? Or is it going to change nothing? How are people going to view us? So that's the part that I'm feeling like is probably going to be the most change, if anything. But in this past year, it really hasn't felt much different than the past 15 that I've already been doing this type of stuff here and there. But it's definitely been weird kind of seeing it's been weird because I mean there's definitely been, again, like as a fan of this stuff too, in terms of comics, it is definitely weird seeing parallels to dynamics that I know about from fiction kind of live out in front of me. And I'm like, okay, this is weird. Like this is definitely, I think, changing how I act outside of the suit and how I act inside of the suit.
Right.
Um,
Right.
so
Yeah.
it's been oh man, it's weird.
Yeah. It seems like you're
It's
like,
weird.
yeah, living art imitating life. You know, to say that art imitates
Yeah.
life. Yeah.
I mean, legitimately, I have a Jim Gordon Batman dynamic in a weird
Wow.
way, and
Yeah.
it's so weird, and it's the strangest thing. But I'm kind of thankful for it
Yeah.
because it's like I have someone that I know and am in contact with, at the PD, and he trusts me, I trust him, but he knows nothing about me.
Mm.
And so anytime that we meet, I'm not in the suit. Like he's seen my face, but he knows nothing about me. And it's
Mm.
just like all we talk about is just, hey, here's a thumb drive with a testimony, or here, oh hey, like here's a theory that I had.
Mm.
And we've joked about meeting on a rooftop with a spotlight. So I'm like, okay, we got to do it at some point.
You gotta do it. You
I
gotta
got
do
to
it.
do it.
That would be awesome.
Mhm.
I'll keep asking around if I know anybody with the spotlight. For sure.
You
Oh,
might see one on February 9th.
okay. All right. Good. Good to know. Good to know. I'll make sure I'm there.
You might
That's
see one
awesome.
on February 9th. That may or may not be the prize for whoever donates the most.
All right. Cool. Well, maybe I could be your Lois Lane.
There. Oh boy. Okay.
Or maybe you're Peter Parker. I'm sorry, not like that.
There we go.
Maybe you're
There
Peter
we
Parker.
go.
Peter Parker's better.
There we.
Yeah.
Oh yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, cool, man. Oh, well, we will take a short break. Right before we take a break, again, how can people reach you, get in contact with you, and what? Tell them the details again about the event coming up.
Okay, great. So you can reach us on our Facebook page, the Astrals of Savannah, Georgia, or you can reach us at our email address, which is the Astrals of Savannah at gmail.com. And on February 9th at 8 p.m. at the Bay Street Theater, we will be hosting a fundraiser event, which is also going to be sort of a more detailed reveal event for the group. And there, you're going to see a spotlight. You're going to see a PowerPoint of a little bit of a rundown about who we are and everything of that sort. But it's also going to be an opportunity for us to, hopefully make connections with people like the mayor and other community service groups in the city, and just letting the community know more about us and that we exist. So I'm very excited for that.
Right. Okay, awesome. So everybody out there listening, don't go anywhere. We're gonna take a quick break. We're gonna come right back with the lightning round. We're gonna put Knight through the lightning round. So I will be here in just a second, guys. Don't go anywhere. Peace. Welcome back to the Savannah Business Showcase. I'm your host, Raz. I'm here once again with Knight of the Astrals, founder of the
Hello.
Astrals here in Savannah. And Knight, are you ready for the lightning round?
Oh, I'm ready for the lightning round.
All right, cool. So I'm stuttering a lot today. I don't know if I'm excited for the Astrals being in Savannah or if it's because it's like we're pre-recording this on a Saturday and my mind's not ready. But anyway, it's gonna be fun. So the
All
lightning
right.
round is where I just answer a bunch of random questions. It'll be about 20 minutes or so, and
All
then
right.
we'll you can answer them as short as long as you want to. We'll go ahead and get started.
All right.
What did you want to be as a kid, and how does that relate to your current business, your current organization?
Oh man, I really wanted to be a writer. Actually,
Mm.
I love writing, and I feel like it's been incredibly useful recently because I've been documenting a lot in the form of writing, and then also, of course, we have the comic book coming up, which I think that me and a couple of the others are going to be writing. And since I have a bit of a writing background, that's definitely going to help. So.
Awesome. Do you already have an artist?
No, not yet. Actually, we're trying to look for people. Actually, for artists, I commissioned a cover already, so we have that. But for the rest of it, we're still looking for people.
Okay, I interviewed a graphic artist. He went to SCADS, and he's like an award-winning, an award-nominated artist. He does a children's book that was awarded like one of the top books to Georgia kids to read. It's called Merman. But I could,
no.
yeah, I could send you a link to it. If you like the art, I'll share his information with you.
Oh, that'd be fantastic.
Yeah. Okay. Next question. How have you approached failure in life?
Oh man, beating myself up too much, and then just realizing, all right, it's a new day. Let's move on.
Right. I think that's how everybody approaches it. Really, like a lot of people say that that it's no such thing as failure. It's just a learning experience. But I think most people in real life, like we just beat ourselves up a little bit. Then we move on.
I give myself one day to sulk, and then I'm like, all right, move on the next day.
I like that. I like the timeline.
Thank you.
So, tell us a story about a failure.
Oh man, there was one time, because I'm trying to see if there's any failures that have happened recently that can relate to the team. There was, oh god, the time that we put up the flyers actually in the city. We were putting the flyers, I think, at like 2 a.m. on like a Monday because no one was going to be there. And so the team and I split up throughout the entire city. I know some of us went down to Target, some of us went down to the mall, just a widespread. And we were done, we were heading back, and then it started to rain. And I thought, oh no, like all the flyers are going to wash away because it was paper. We're poor. And so I ran out with a new recruit, and we put up the flyers again in the rain, trying to cover ourselves and things like that, because we thought if we do this in costume, it's going to be too conspicuous.
Yeah.
And we eventually went back to the main locations. We saw that all the flyers were just destroyed. So we also put stickers as well on a lot of the areas that we wanted to get in contact with. And then thankfully, because of that, someone posted it on the subreddit, and that's when a lot of people found out about us. So that was a good failure that ended up becoming something good.
That's right. It became something great because I found out about you.
Hey.
So yeah. Next. So like, what can people? There's an entrepreneur, there's a small business owner, there's a nonprofit founder that's in your position where they're out there with bootstrapping their company, trying to get things out there. Like, what advice would you give them if they're in a similar situation?
To be brutally honest, it all it takes, I think, is making those connections and not having to wait for someone to show up. Be the person that calls someone to make those connections. It doesn't matter how many phone calls it takes, how many emails it takes, how many times you may feel like you're nagging someone. That's the only way you're going to get people's attention. That's the only way that you're going to meet new people is being that person to reach out and make those connections. And I mean, that's how I got connected with Stagefront. That's how this whole fundraiser thing has been happening. So without all those phone calls, we would never have found a spotlight. We never would have had the fundraiser happen. I would never have found this team. So it's daunting, I think, when you think about it, but that first step could literally just be a phone call.
Yeah.
So you never know.
Do you remember how you got your first call? Do you remember your first call?
First call. I mean, the first big one that comes to my mind, like, are you asking like in terms of the call that I made to someone or like a call that I got?
The call that you got to report something.
Oh man, the first call that I got was actually from my place of work. Someone was actually complaining about something, and it was a pretty big deal. And I looked into it privately, and I took the initiative, and I got, information. I got, pictures of evidence, things of that sort. And I remember I was in a restaurant, and I was typing out my first ever email with, I think, the Astrals email address, or actually at the time it was my personal night email. And I just remember like trying to reach out to certain people and get in contact. And there was just something about how it went about, just that process where I was like, this is a good way of going about it.
Yeah.
And then giving the updates to the person that was complaining and keeping them assured. And then the person that they were complaining about scared out of their minds.
Yeah.
So then they never did anything ever again. And I was like, all right, that's the first kind of call to action.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. So don't. So what I take from that is don't be a bystander again.
Yeah.
And I think that the following up with the person who made the report is key. Like that's customer
Oh,
service. That's customer service 101.
oh yeah.
You know.
Because I mean, for us, like we're not heroes for hire.
Right.
Um, God, I just made a Luke Cage Iron Fist reference. Um, but I think honestly, like I myself at times have called stuff to Crime Stoppers Anonymous before,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't like how I didn't know what was happening with my tip.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I didn't like this idea of the unknown, the abyss, because then what if nothing happened? I would never know. I would never know what to do then.
Right.
So I just think it just seems logical. Like, why wouldn't you want to have updates with what's going on? You know, if we needed you again, or if you had something new happen, then we would never know if we didn't give you updates.
Right.
So it just kind of seems like kind of common sense to me now, since we've been doing it and it's been working. But
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Yeah. Yeah. I know. So what's one thing you've had to sacrifice in order to start the Astrals?
oh man, balancing's been a big thing. So definitely a bit of social life. I feel like
Mm-hmm.
the city is my love. A bit of social life, I feel like, and I think, I think too, it's that idea of holding back from telling people I care about what I do,
Mm,
because you know, I think that's been one of the biggest sacrifices for me.
mm,
Because you know, I trust people, I trust the people that I care about. They definitely trust me with very sensitive information, um, but I've always felt like it's best that they don't know about this stuff,
yeah.
because you know, on paper this is crazy, like this is
Yeah.
insane,
Yeah.
and especially how we do it. But it works, and so I don't feel like I need validation or anything like that. But at the same time, always knowing you're holding back from telling them something is kind of a burden, a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
um, but there's just no need to tell everybody that I know. um, and I think in turn goes with that sacrifice of social life as well.
Mm,
There's been a lot of times where I've refused to go out for drinks because it's like I got to drive around and see if there's anything I need to report to the police.
mm,
Patrol, as we say.
yeah.
But yeah, so that's
Yeah.
probably been the biggest sacrifice.
Mm. Yeah. I can imagine. I can imagine that is a pretty heavy burden.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, with building new relationships in life too. You know, like there's always that thing of like, um, you know, with any type of relationship that you may, you know, get, there's always that notion of like, yeah, I'm probably not gonna tell this person everything about me. So that's always kind of daunting. And I think a lot of people on the rest of the team have been dealing with that in one way, shape, or form as well.
Yeah.
So it's daunting. It definitely is. But I mean, it's no big deal, because again, like when I get to look back at all the things that we've done, I'm like, yeah, I think it's kind of worth it.
Mm. Awesome. Yeah. So we'll close up with just a couple more questions before we lose signal again. All right. Okay. Yeah. So two more questions.
All right.
This will be fun. Do you consider yourself an introvert or extrovert, and why?
Oh man, definitely an extrovert. But whenever I'm night, I'm definitely more of the introvert.
Hmm.
That's why I told the team, it's like at this event, I'm not speaking on stage. Because again, it gives that whole thing of night's been such a secret for so long
Yeah.
that it's like, it's still weird that I'm going to be on stage in that suit and people are going to know that name. It's like, you know, for the rest of them, they've sort of been starting in this year. Like this is their year one, but for me, that was 14 years ago.
Yeah.
And so that sort of change with stepping out of the shadows in a way, it's that's daunting for me.
Yeah.
But
Cool.
me personally, I'm very much an extrovert. But I think being in that position, it's going to be, I'm definitely more of the introvert.
Cool. And last question. I already asked you the superpower question, so I won't do that again. But do you have any advice for entrepreneurial kids who want to start a nonprofit like you did? Do you have any advice for them?
I would say find your stick. I would say find the thing that makes you different first. You know, because there's a lot of places that obviously help with the same types of situations, but I think it's the how you do it that definitely will make people more interested and definitely assist you and aid you and want to collaborate a little bit more. And again, this was never a thing where it's like, oh yes, we're going to do this because down the road we're going to make up. No, but it is something that I've discovered, which is I think the way that we're different is the reason why people were so attracted to this group in many different ways.
Yeah.
Because in a lot of ways, we're not just your average, ordinary community service group. And for a lot of people, they do call us superheroes, and I'm like, that's cool, I guess. But again, I don't like being called one. But then again, it's better than being called a vigilante.
Right. Way better. Yeah.
Way better. But I would say, yeah, find your shtick, find what makes you different, because that's how you're really going to stand out. Is how you help people as opposed to what you're helping people with.
Beautiful. So, Knight, man, thank you for being on the show. I really appreciate you coming on. It's been fun
for having me.
Yeah, man, it's been fun for me, and I'm glad to be able to help get the word out about it. So
this is very much appreciated. Seriously.
Yeah. So, again, how can people get in touch with you, and how can they sign up for the event?
So you can reach out to us via our Facebook page, the Astrals of Savannah, Georgia, or email address at the astralsofsavannah@gmail.com. And so for the actual event, we're going to be posting more details about that, about if you want to go, how to go, that sort of thing. So we'll be getting more information about that sooner when it gets closer to February.
Perfect.
But yeah.
Perfect. All right, cool.
That's us.
Yeah. So I'm finishing up an interview with Knight of the Astrals, founder of the Astrals here in Savannah. And everybody out there listening, thank you for listening. This is Therese with the Savannah Business Showcase. As always, be the change you want to see in the world. You don't have to have $1 billion to change the world. You can just go down the road, tell somebody you love them. So I love you guys, and I will see you next week.